Welcome to another edition of Curtis Jones Writing. I'm on chapter 11 of the book entitled Love Endures All Things, The Deep South, subtitled Until Death Do We Part. And I'm going to read this chapter, which is probably going to be the most difficult to have written, and it's been hard to read it also. But I also put a photograph of me and Stephanie 2 months before the events of this story happened, and I wanted to have that there so people would see what a wonderful, fun-loving person Stephanie was. We were married 47 and a half years, so it was long enough to get to know each other well. Chapter 11, Death Visits Our Home, is the title of this chapter. Stephanie was diagnosed with a different kind of problem way back in 2008. She was told that she had a condition known as a left bundle branch blockage. The diagnosis came before she needed to go get a colonoscopy. And to do that, she was sent to a cardiologist to have her heart evaluated. They said they found the condition then and that there was nothing that could be done about it. They said she would feel nothing at all and no discomfort until one day her heart would simply stop beating and she would die. That was bad news, but we behaved or we believed that she had always had this condition and we would not think about it because nothing could be done at any rate. We would instead enjoy each other as long as we could. As we went on, the memory of that long past diagnosis soon left our memories. Stephanie was finding herself getting short of breath and slowing that was slowing her down. She went to see my cardiologist who wanted to do a heart catheterization to look at what was going on. He was told about the condition Stephanie had. He said that the heart cath would not cause any problems with her condition. We set the time for a month from then, and in my weekly call to my mother, I told her about the procedure when when it was set. Mom wanted to be there for the procedure, so she flew out to spend a month with us. She came right after I told her about it. She enjoyed her stay with us, and we did too. We got into a routine, and it worked well. Stephanie had her heart catheterization done when she first came to Alabama down in Dothan. She said she was awake for the whole thing and that it was very painful to her. We were not aware of her condition at that time. We learned of it in Florida. She was quite afraid of this being done again because of the pain during the first procedure. The heart catheterization went fine, and Stephanie had slept through this one. She didn't have any pain with the procedure. The doctor said her heart was in very good condition as far as the veins and muscles were concerned. She should not have any kind of heart difficulty. But to be on the safe side, the doctor wanted to look at her daily medication list to maybe make some changes to help with her shortness of breath. The doctor would make some changes at her next appointment. Mom was right there with Stephanie while she went through the procedure along with me. We were so pleased to hear the doctor's report. Our minds were set at ease. Those kinds of procedures are generally done in a single day with no overnight hospital stays. At the in the end of Mom's stay was going to be in 1 week, and she was scheduled to leave on a Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Michelle wanted to meet us at the airport to wish her grandmother a happy and safe flight home. The last week with Mom was a good week for Stephanie and myself. We enjoyed it. We worried about having Mom here because she had spent a month with my older sister out in Washington, and Betty waited on Mom hand and foot. We thought that might be what would happen here, but Mom was quite self-sufficient. While she stayed with us, I think Betty may have offered to aid Mom more than perhaps we did. We lived about 45 minutes from the Montgomery airport, and Mom had to be there 1 hour before her flight. We left home about 7 a.m. to get there in plenty of time. When we arrived, Michelle met us at the entrance, and I found a place to park. When I came up to the waiting area, there was a kind of museum, and we waited there until the boarding call came. We went through a metal detector, and I set off metal detector, and I set it off with my knee replacements on both knees. They did everything but have me undress. We waited about 30 minutes in the boarding area before Mom was boarded, and she boarded early because she was in a wheelchair. After she got on board, we handed out our we headed out to our car. On the way home, I felt uncomfortable pressure in my chest area. I had experienced a heart attack in the late 90s. So I knew this was not one of those. I believed it was what most people call anxiety. I had not felt that before. It really is uncomfortable. It persisted for a few hours and then it subsided. I was relieved to have it go away. It was nice to have Mom here, but she was home now, and I guess I was just a little lonely. We had a pleasant evening and went to bed about midnight to get back on our regular schedule. Stephanie worked from 3 until about midnight. I don't remember having any anxiety before, so when it started after Stephanie went to work the next day, I chucked it all up to missing Mom and I went about my day as normal. It seemed like it just came and went at random. I believed it would go away in a few hours. By the time Stephanie was home from work, I didn't feel anything. We slept well that Monday night. Tuesday played out just like Monday did. It was not any stronger, and it didn't go away either. I ignored it the rest of the day and said goodbye to Stephanie as she left for work. I tried to rest most of that day, and the only work I did was finishing dinner for me and Stephanie. I fixed her dinner every night, and she took it to work the next evening for supper. We rested well that night, too. The next day, Wednesday, the anxiety felt a little stronger. I still didn't say anything about it to Stephanie, believing I would overcome it by myself. Stephanie always called me 3 times a day to check uh, on me. She didn't talk long, just checking in. Stephanie called me about 5 p.m. to see if I was ready for my Bible class. I had to teach Bible class then. I was the teacher that night. I told her I was not going to church that night. It worried Stephanie considerably, and she insisted I go to the ER and be checked out. By this time, I was considering the possibility that what I was feeling was another heart attack. I think that is what Stephanie was thinking about also. I had explained what I was feeling in my chest. I drove down to the Bullock County Hospital and found a place to park my pickup where it would not be towed away. I parked on the street in front of the administration office. I walked to the administration office and uh, stated, I think I'm having a heart attack. And the lady sent me to the ER, walking through the hospital halls. It was about 200 steps to get there. The door was locked, and I had to knock to get anybody's attention. An older gentleman came and opened the door to let me in. I told him I thought I was having a heart attack. This man turned out to be my primary care physician. He sent me back to the administration office, and I walked back the 200 steps through the hospital to get there. When I arrived at the administration office, I said the man in the ER sent me back here to sign in. They asked me if I wasn't the man that had said a few moments ago that I think I was having a heart attack. And I said, yes, I am. And they sent me back to the ER through the hospital again, another 200 steps. I got back to the ER and had to knock again. And in a few seconds, the same man opened the door for me and asked me what I was feeling that made me think I was having a heart attack. I explained everything to him, and he sent me to a room just outside of the ER department. The door to the ER was shut and locked behind me. And in about 10 minutes, another man came to take a blood sample to test for the enzyme that would indicate a heart attack. He left and said they would get back to me shortly. I waited for about 15 minutes more, and the man in the ER came rushing out to move me into the ER. He was my family doctor. In all fairness, I had never seen him before that day. I always was sent to his physician's assistant. I liked her. She reminded me of my daughter. They asked who my cardiologist was, and call, I had to have them call my wife. I told them she remembered who he was and that I didn't. She told them and immediately came to the hospital to be with me. They got in touch with my heart doctor and put me in an ambulance to transport me to Opelika, about 40 or 50 miles from there, to the hospital. Stephanie got there by the time I did. I could tell Stephanie had been crying. Her eyes were very red. She was more upset than I was by my treatment at the Bullock County Hospital and by my own doctor. I think she thought I was near death, as I was when I had the heart attack in Oklahoma. I knew it didn't feel the same as that one did. Stephanie was there every morning while I was hospitalized, and her eyes were always red like she had been crying. She told me, you know, I can't sleep well without you. She was so concerned and scared, both for me and her. I was there 5 days, and a stent was applied put in only one vein. The stent was put in on the first full day, and the rest were to keep a check on my enzyme level. I was never worried about dying from the events, and I asked the heart doctor if this would have killed me. He said no, but it could have damaged your heart. I went home on Sunday afternoon. Stephanie had an appointment with the same doctor on Friday that week. So if I had any questions, ask him then, was his advice to us. Stephanie and I talked several times that week, and she told me she would rather her pass away than me because she did not want to be left here alone. I said the same thing that she said. I know we both felt the same way. She and I went to the doctor on Friday morning so she would not have to miss work for the doctor's appointment. The doctor was planning to change up Stephanie's medication to see if that helped with the shortness of breath she had complained about. The doctor changed almost all of the four medications, only one remained the same. Stephanie dropped the prescription off at the pharmacy on her way to work. She planned to make the switch Monday morning after the weekend. I said that sounded like a good idea. Monday morning rolled around and she tossed out the old medication and started with the new meds. It seemed fine to her, she said as she headed off to work. We talked a couple of times that evening to check on each other. We were fine. When she got home, I asked about the shortness of breath, and she said it hadn't really changed yet, but would give it a chance with a new medication. We went to bed and talked about a half an hour, as we usually did. We were happy and content. We said our prayers and went to sleep. The next day, when we got up, Stephanie said in the night she began to feel like she was drowning and could hardly catch her breath. We talked about it over breakfast. We decided she ought to call the doctor, the heart doctor, and see if the new meds could be responsible for the way she felt last night. The doctor's office had not called back by the time she had to leave for work that Tuesday morning, or that Tuesday afternoon. She asked me to relay what was going on if and when they called back, and I agreed, and we kissed goodbye as she headed to work. I relaxed and stayed by the phone to relay the information and get an answer for Stephanie. When she called 3 times that evening and always asked if the doctor's office had checked back, my answer was always not yet. When she got home, I met her in the garage as we always did, and I gave her a welcome home kiss. We talked about her day, and then we went to bed. I said, maybe you should take you shouldn't take your medication until you hear from the doctor. She advised me she already had taken it. So we said our prayers and went to sleep. I was awakened about 6 a.m. by the sound of gurgling coming from Stephanie. I only heard it one time, but it jarred me suddenly awake. I said, Stephanie, turn over. You're not breathing right. She did not respond. I jumped from the bed and I ran to her side and I shook her. She still did not respond. I screamed at her to wake up and still nothing. I ran to the living room, grabbed my cell phone to call 911. I had the phone sitting on the right side as I did CPR on Stephanie. I told them she was not breathing. I said I was doing CPR and would keep it up until they got there. It took 20 minutes for them to arrive at the house. I was exhausted and at the point of tears, realizing what was happening. I had put on trousers and a t-shirt before they arrived. I let them in the front door and then they came to the bedside and we had to carry her on a backboard because the gurney would not make the corner into our bedroom. As we turned at the hall, my sweet Stephanie fell from the backboard and hit the floor at our feet. I burst into tears. We got her on the gurney and rolled her to the back of the ambulance to put her inside. They shut the door, and I could still see inside as they continued to do CPR. One of the attendants told me they were bringing in a helicopter to life flight her to Montgomery. I stepped back where I couldn't see inside the ambulance as to what was going on. My heart was far too broken at this point. I called Michelle and told her that Mom didn't wake up this morning and they were going to life flight her to Montgomery. I called Brian and told him the same thing. I had asked Michelle to call and tell the boys in Oklahoma. The life flight could not find a place to land, so they went back without her, and that took another 20 minutes with Stephanie on CPR. They took the ambulance to Bullitt County Hospital. I finished getting dressed and followed as quickly as I could. I waited in the ER for word. She was in one of the treatment rooms when I got there. They worked on her another 20 minutes, and then they came out to me. They said they were not able to revive her. They said if they had been able to after so long a time, she would not have been herself ever again. I called Michelle and asked her to call everyone else, and I just was not able to do that. I called Brother Thomas from church. He preaches as and he works at a funeral home. He came to the hospital and comforted me, and he had lost his wife just 6 months earlier. I wrote these words in a few weeks of these events. They are heartfelt. It's a poem entitled Miss Stephanie, written in 2016. Your lips are as sweet as the pomegranate. They are beautifully red as a cherry fruit. Your skin is as soft as a newborn babe. It is as smooth as velvet and as soft as cotton. More to be desired than my best comfort. You're the wonderful fresh smell of a new spring day. The brightness of your eyes is like the sun's own rays. Your comforting touch is like a long awaited day. My deepest desire is that you would always stay. You're as exciting as love at its first sight. When your arms hold me, my heart is light as the air. Nothing more thrilling than my fingers through your hair. I long to caress your back, should I even dare. When you are in need, I will always be there. The hope you bring fills my life tenfold. When I close my eyes, you're in my arms. I will do all so that you can come to no harm. If I see danger, I will sound the alarm. I must preserve you with all of your charms. more to be desired than much fine gold. The pieces of my heart only you can control. When I cannot hold you, I feel quite old. With you in my arms, I have my youth. My love for you is my best and only truth. That concludes this chapter. A difficult chapter to read because I wrote this just a little while after Stephanie died. We were married for a very long time. Miss her still. It's been nearly 7 years now. But love is like that. And there's still part of her in my heart. And that brings me comfort. God bless you. And the next time I read, I will read Life Alone. It talks about life after Stephanie left. May God keep you and bless you. And if you like what I'm doing, you want to know more and get ahead of the game or read some of the stories yourself that I've read earlier, because I think this is my sixth or seventh book, you can go to this site, which is my web page, which is curtis-jones-books.squarespace.com. They have a link there that'll take you to Amazon where you could see all these books, but it also explains each book in that on that website, tells you a little bit about them. Or you can go to my Facebook page, which is Curtis Jones Author Page on Facebook. It has a link to go to Amazon as well. And you can get these books in ebook, paperback, some of them in hardback if you prefer to give them as a gift. Next time, when I finish this one, I will start reading Getting There, which is a book that tells family history. A lot of the stories handed down by my family because I'm part Cherokee Indian and my mother is part Indian as well. So altogether, I'm about a quarter Indian. Or an, yep, I'm about a quarter Indian. I keep forgetting. But I couldn't get a CDIB card, which is a certified degree of Indian blood card, which would allow me to take advantage of the benefits the Cherokee Nation get from the Department of Indian Affairs, or whatever it's called now. But that's okay. My grandmother was embarrassed that she was an Indian, and so she wouldn't say anything about it. And they found her number. She has a number, and I should have received that as her grandson. But they didn't post any of the children she had, so that's where I miss out on mine. Anyway, such is life. God bless you, and I'll see you the next time I present a story. Bye bye.